All right, I can't believe it. 50 episodes of Talking Trash. Oh my god, this is a big event. What are we doing? What are we going to do tonight?
We're talking trash on Giallo.
Oh, oh, oh.
Mommy, what's the matter? Mommy, why does that girl keep telling me I shouldn't go there?
Giallo parlante.
I'm talking to you. Bob! Bob!
Who opened the seven gateways to heaven, because through that
Proprio un altro filo notte.
Oh, this is. I mean, you gave me free range, so I picked Giallo as my genre. And so it's Giallo July.
Yeah, in July, you have took over the reins of the show, and we are doing Giallo films. And this is the 50th episode, so it's a big one. It's a big deal. We're going to talk about something great, right?
Sure. No.
Well, here we are. I am Scott, and you are Joe.
I am Joe. Last I checked.
And we are just another movie night, and this is Talking Trash or Talking Giallo.
Talking trash.
We're basically, hey, what this is all, if you haven't heard this yet, what this is boiled down to is Joe trying to get me to enjoy Giallo films more. Which is if you don't know, a subgenre of horror movies that include Italian horror. Usually a slasher or a thriller. It's sketchy on what exactly this all is, but
It's basically crime or mystery
Yeah.
also. So it's a very vast explanation of Giallo. But this one that we're doing is interesting enough. This is my director that I picked this time is Giulio Questi. And the movie that we chose, or I'm sorry, I chose to torture my husband with is, well, the American title is called Plucked. The
Amazing.
worst. But
Amazing.
the Italian title is worse than that. It's called Death Laid an Egg.
Giallo laid an egg.
I don't know. Oh, well,
This is everything we want in a movie to talk about on Talking Trash.
I can't stop laughing because this is not the first. This is actually my third pick because I couldn't find the one I wanted to watch. So I chose this one, even though this is on my watch list. It wasn't one that I wanted to pick for this particular month. But here we are. We did it.
We wandered into a real foul egg of a film.
Oh, I see what you said. Foul, an egg.
A,
Oh my
a
god.
real stinker. A little
Yeah,
rotten
it's
egg.
a rotten egg.
No, this is perfect. This is exactly the kind of movie I want on this show. A movie that is just so absurd, so incompetent, that you feel like, yeah, everybody needs to know. And since, let me tell you guys, this is Talking Trash. And on Talking Trash, we do what we do best. We watch shitty movies so you don't have to. And we tell you the whole movie, spoiler fashion. We're going to break down the whole film. We're going to talk about it. And what better way to do this movie than that format? Because holy crap.
This was something.
This is like incompetent on so many levels. Okay, first off, let's just get this out of the because I try not to talk about the movie while we were watching it. I wanted to wait. So now we're trying to get our opinions out. But this was an hour and a half of audio torture. This was like, now imagine your child. You have a child, like a 5-year-old, and you just decide to put every instrument one at a time in front of that child and just record as the soundtrack to your film. That kid playing each instrument. So what do we got? We got a piano, violin,
I think we have a saxophone in
a
there.
guitar, I don't know about the sax.
I thought I heard some hot sax.
It might have been a xylophone. In this, there sounded like there was a flute at one point.
A triangle?
It could have been. It was just like every instrument is passed in front of this child, and it is horrible. And that's what they passed the soundtrack. And what's worse, they love to jack it up over the dialogue.
Yeah.
There's a scene where the characters in this movie own a chicken farm, thus the title of egg, laid an egg and plucked. It has a entire theme about chickens.
Well, the premise of this film is, I don't want to say premise, but the backdrop or the setting of this film has to do with the lead character, played by Gina Lodgebrigida. She actually owns a chicken farm.
Yeah, and so that's kind of a backdrop. And there's a part in this movie where they actually torture the chickens more by playing the soundtrack to this film at them.
No, I have to go to town. Ah, now it's working.
Which I was like, you're torturing us. Are you mocking us, the audience, as the chickens in a coop ready to be slaughtered? Maybe. And you know what? Good on you guys, because I think that's exactly what I felt like.
I think that you're giving the director too much credit.
Well, let's get into this one, because holy shit. First off, when I said incompetent and I pointed out the score first, that's important. But what's even more important is the terrible editing and directing of this film.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that's foremost is the terrible editing and directing.
This is a mission to try to get somebody into Giallo. Especially a person who loves cinema but does not understand the love that Italian horror gets. This is the kind of movie that I would expect. You know what I mean? Like, this is a journey. This is a test of a will watching some of these movies, because every time I'm hoping for the best, I get exactly what I was hoping for, which is the worst. And this is and to start this movie off, we have the driving sequence. Yeah. No, this one isn't a driving sequence.
No,
I'm sorry. This is actually 2 minutes and 59 seconds or 57 seconds of infertilization.
Yeah.
Being shot, like
it was
the
a
cells
chicken.
and the birth of an egg.
Yes.
Being shown through a microscope for 2 minutes, 57 seconds, with the awful kid playing an instrument sound effect. For 2 straight minutes.
I think
That's how
he
this film
was playing the
opens.
xylophone.
This one's, it's
not
actually
an
sounded like
actual
the kid is pounding on keys.
It's not an actual child, but it
I
seems
don't
like
care.
they let a child
let
do
a
this
5-year-old make this
soundtrack.
music. There's no
Yeah.
doubt in my mind. This is a kid jamming on keys for 2 minutes while watching a microscopic version of egg fertilization. Holy shit, that doesn't sound terrible right off the bat. If it could only get worse, because the next thing we get is jump shots of hotel rooms, scattered shots that never statically shoot a person. They're just flying by the person constantly. And if it's even more, that sounds even more insane. We also get shots of other hotel rooms. One room in particular is a man killing himself with a plastic bag on his head.
Yeah, they never go back to that.
In his tidy whities. And we never go back to it. It is completely pointless. And we also are getting, not only are we getting this guy wrapping himself in this bag, we're getting a guy listening to his neighbors fool around. He's putting his ear against the wall. And then we also have the person fooling around who is slowly becoming we get shots of his briefcase opening up and having torture devices being put onto the bed. As we hear this woman talking about, loving and cuddling and getting kisses. And so, he's saying, I love you, darling. Now, we don't see him. We just see the black glove. Anything from a Giallo film you can think of is being put on the bed. We got a switchblade. We got a hunting knife. We have stirrups. We have black gloves. We have a tape recorder. All these things are being played out, and we're seeing jump shots of a guy putting a bag on his head, people coming into a hotel, a guy listening into the wall, a woman walking back and forth with terrible zip shots, like just flyby shots of her walking by the camera over and over. We don't even know what we're looking at. And this goes on for a good minute as well, until finally the guy putting all the stuff on the bed starts killing the woman he's with. And by the way, before he starts killing her, she says, "I want you to kiss all of my body. Kiss it all. The love." And the guy's putting his ear against the wall listening. But then he goes outside, and I guess in this hotel, you could just walk over to your neighbor's back door or back window and stare through the window. So he does. And then that's when we watch our main actor, we find out,
His
slashing.
name is Marco.
He's got his black gloves on, and it looks like a dentist outfit of some sort, and he is just slashing. We don't see penetration. We don't see anything. It is the worst shots of a murder scene you've ever seen. It's basically just a woman laying on the floor screaming with some, like, no blood, just screaming. Her close up on her face, and then a close up on his side of his head that's not in frame properly, and his hand flying all over the screen, which is holding a knife, and he's just slashing at the air.
Let's not forget about the directing in this scene. So
That's fine.
there's literally, the bad shot that you cannot overlook is the fact that this director keeps putting random objects in the foreground to hide and conceal exactly what he wants to conceal, which is the body, the slashing, everything that you want to see in a horror movie. He has something in the foreground to cover that up.
Yeah, nothing is in frame, is what I was saying. Like, nothing is perfectly in frame.
Like, what is that kind of directing? Like, what are you doing?
It's a mess. It is
I've never seen anything like this. It goes on through the whole movie.
Yeah. Yes, and it gets worse and worse. And this scene is being shot through the blinds. I don't know what you call them, vertical blinds, right?
Yeah.
And this guy's staring at it. We're watching a guy, his eyes, staring at the crime, and the crime is just terrible. And then the guy who's watching this murder, he's not reacting to it in any way whatsoever. He just calmly gets into an elevator, goes downstairs, gets to a payphone, and calls somebody.
We don't know who he calls.
Yeah.
And he's just way too calm for someone
Yeah,
having
he's fine.
just seen a freaking murder.
And this actor reminds me of Greg Sestero from The Room.
He kind of does.
His blank stares, his bizarre reactions to things,
Yeah. Oh,
the
also,
close-ups on his face.
did you get a vibe of 1968 from any of these characters? Because this movie came out in 1968, and I did not have a 1968 vibe.
I mean, I can see it. It's Italian. It's not like an American vibe, so I can kind
Yeah.
of understand. Like,
I mean,
there
it's
is
different.
there is a sex party scene in this movie. There is some weird stuff in here that kind of goes, okay, this is the 60s. There's
Yeah, I
also
guess.
some terrible outfits.
Oh, I mean, you know how I feel about 70s wardrobe, but
Yeah.
we weren't exactly in the 70s yet, but you could tell it was just starting to get there.
Yeah,
But
it's like that hippie colors and pastels, and we're getting into disco or whatever the hell it is.
But with this particular character, I didn't get the 68 vibe from him. It was weird. I don't know.
I think everybody looks pretty decent in this film.
There's a lot of good-looking people in this.
Well, when that guy's on the phone, the payphone, calling somebody, we of course don't hear who he's calling or what he's saying. We also see the killer come out of the elevator with sunglasses on. And by the way, he's got like the Tommy Wiseau sunglasses. He's got the whole sunglass vibe, and he's in a suit he's like a full tie, the whole suit, and he's calmly marching through with his suitcase, and he leaves.
Yeah, he had just murdered someone
Yeah.
in a hotel room, And he's just like, all right. So I guess he's not concerned about them finding the body or anything like that.
Yeah, and that doesn't, like, for the whole movie we're like, what is happening? Right? What's going on? Because they never go back to it.
Never.
This body.
No.
And what's even funnier is there's another one after this. So we kind of get little details, and then we finally get some stuff at the end. But for the whole movie, they just don't tell you anything.
No.
Instead, we have a lot of crazy shit occur. And it is some odd stuff. I think we now find out that this guy who just murdered somebody is our main character.
Yeah, and not only is he the main character, but he's also married.
Yeah, he goes home, and we get his entire introduction to his house and what's going on there. Mm-hmm. Well, I should also say that he's a photographer. And the way that we find out that this guy's home and he's with his family or whatever is we cut to a scene of him taking photographs in a chicken factory of two women holding chickens and turning on the devices to ground them up.
It was very bizarre.
And they're posing, these two women, like models, and he's taking photographs, and we don't know what the fuck's going on. And they're acting very just nonchalant, and they're laughing, they're giggling. He's taking all these different photos, different directions, like he's a photographer. And all of a sudden, a giant wrench goes flying out of one of the factory like, what do you call those? Like a chute. Mm-hmm. And it shoots out a giant wrench, and it almost hits them. And they go, "Oh my God, what is this?" And the one girl's like, there's a blonde, and she just goes, "Who would have done this?
So casual.
Could have gotten us."
Somebody put it up there.
Just what are you getting?
I said somebody put it there. They did it on purpose. They wanted to kill us. That should be obvious. They meant it to fall.
I'm sure they didn't mean to. I'm sure of that.
They did. They put it there on purpose.
I wonder who.
So casual. We find out that these two people that he's taking photographs of, one of them is his wife, and the other one is his wife's cousin, the beautiful blonde.
Yeah, but before we get that, the woman, the older looking woman, she says, "I think it's the workers.
The workmen did it.
They hate me. And they're outside. They're just watching us." And you're like, wait a minute, what? And when they open up this door, they actually show a fence with about 10 guys standing behind it watching them.
Yes, but that doesn't come back. Ever. Ever.
It's a running thing in the background of this movie, and...
But there's never anyone working in this factory,
Well,
except one guy.
That's the plot
so
here.
weird.
So the 10 guys just are staring at them. And she's like, look at them. Look at them. We don't need them anymore. And I fired them, and they can't go, and they won't get over it. And they're out to get me. And they're just staring at it. And she's like, are you going to go do anything to this guy? And the camera guy's like, no. And he just shuts the door.
There's nothing that, I mean, they don't come back. They don't, like, try to, like, burn down the chicken coop or anything to hurt her. But she just, like, fires them.
She thinks, well, that's the plot. Yeah, that's a weird plot point in this movie. Well, first off, she thinks that they tried to set her up for murder by putting a wrench in the chute to fly out, although they're on the other side of the fence. Right? And he's like, that's...
Oh.
And they're not in problem. They're no problem. So he, like, moves on.
Then maybe we would have been left alone instead of persecuted. Anyway, thank God they've gone. And good riddance.
There they are.
They hate us. They did even when they worked for us. What are they doing here now? We don't need them anymore. Are you going to let those idiots just stand there and watch us?
But we find out here that, like you said, the older woman is his wife, and she owns this factory. Mm-hmm. This is her factory, a chicken factory. And
this is on their land.
Their house is built on a giant chicken farm. they're all locked up in cages. This is
Yeah,
Peter's
it's a-
worst nightmare.
It's like a chicken. It's a chicken farm.
Oh,
They have
and
a whole company.
I would be completely amiss if I didn't mention
Remiss.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that when they're posing for photographs, she is holding a dead chicken like it's a joke at like a comedy farm.
I
Like
thought it was a rubber chicken.
Steve Martin would have had in his act, like
Yes.
wiggling around a fake dead chicken through by the neck. She's holding it up,
real though.
and she's so happy to be posing with this dead chicken.
Ay.
All I kept thinking was, "Holy crap, PETA should not be told about this." They should not. And vegetarians should not see this film.
Yeah. Probably better.
Yeah, so yeah, like I was saying, like I guess this is his wife, and they have, which slowly gets told, is her cousin living with them, and she's a younger girl. We found out the actress was 18 years old filming this movie.
Mm-hmm. She was very, very pretty. Very pretty.
I think both of them are. I think that they went out of their way to try to make the other one old.
I don't see. First of all, her name is Gina Lollobrigida. I can't even say
Yeah,
that.
she's
Lollobrigida.
constantly referencing that she's old.
So pretty, and she was only 41
Which is
in this, which is not old. But apparently, they have it's her cousin, and we find out that she's living there because she doesn't really have any family left. So she's living with her cousin. Anna is the name of the wife, and so she's helping around the farm.
Yeah, the cousin, the aunt, or the two cousins and this husband live on this farm, and apparently only other one worker works on this farm with them, who is a scientist. The scientist is running experiments. This slowly comes out. It is very, very strange. Apparently, she has fired all of the workers at this place because they're trying to run efficiently and cheap. So she's like, I can run this whole damn thing myself. So she's running it there, I think with her cousin. I don't know if the cousin's really helping, but apparently they're working, and this guy's doing, I don't know what his job is. He seems to be a photographer who's written a book once, but apparently he's broke. They mention all this crap like throughout the movie, and it's so odd, right? Like she's got a lot of money, not enough to hire workers. But like she's cutting costs by firing them. But those workers don't want to go home. They just want to watch.
Yeah, they just want to
They're
linger
so
around.
angry, you know. It's so weird, and that is an odd plot point in this film. But yeah, we cut to them outside, having drinks, talking, and looking at the photographs. And this is where the woman, who's the wife, won't stop talking about her age and how she doesn't look good in these photographs. And her dialogue is always insane in this film. She's got a lot of weird thoughts. She's like, my eyes just don't say whatever. And then the young girl's like, I think that photograph says that you're the boss. And that photograph says...
Now here you have a strange kind of gentleness.
Once upon a time, I wanted to have that quality.
Do you think you like it?
Yes, I do, dear. But it's too late now to do anything about it.
Oh,
What the fuck? Right? And she keeps talking about, you look beautiful in all these photos. And the husband's like, she's like, rip this one up. She's like, don't rip this one up. And the husband's like, yeah, you guys look great in this photo. And she's like, yeah, we'll keep that. You can rip up the rest. So he's going through his photos that he took. And one of the photos is somehow of himself putting the wrench in the slot to shoot out.
I don't know how that even occurred.
So I don't know how he took the photo of it, himself doing it.
I mean, he was taking photos of his wife and the cousin at the time.
Yeah.
But he somehow got an action shot of that happening.
Yeah, he's actually looking at the photo like, whoa.
Yeah.
Who's
so
taking this?
He ran into the house and said, oh, I have to make a phone call. And he got rid of that photo.
Yeah.
Because it's so incriminating. It looks like he tried to kill them.
Which I think he did. I think he tried to kill his wife.
I think he did too.
And I think that's explaining. I think that the person who took the photograph was the blonde, because she made that really terribly acted, yes, I wonder who did it. You know? And I think they were trying to say that she took the photograph, that she saw it.
Yeah. Well, right from the beginning, I felt like there was something going on between.
Well, yeah, the
them
next
two.
scene is like absolutely telling you that's true.
Yeah, but like from the beginning, I just was like, okay, this hot young blonde is living there, and I don't know. It just seemed a little too much. But I feel like everything was too in your face, and the dialogue with this couple, with the wife and the husband, it just seemed like they didn't even know each other. It was just weird. So I was like, oh yeah, something's definitely going on here.
Oh my God, it's wild. At night, he goes, like you said, he rips up the photo, pretends that he's hiding in the other room, and they're told. I guess the wife comes to the door and knocks, and she says that there was a man looking for her, came to the house and was looking for him.
Looking for him.
Yeah, and he's like, did you get a message? She's like, no, but he said that he'd be back.
Yeah, so that's okay. So that's a little whatever.
Yeah,
but in the middle of the night.
Well, they actually go to bed, and there's just some crazy dialogue in this sequence.
Yeah, I'm a little confused. So in 1968, I was asking you, do people sleep when you're married and slept in separate beds?
Well, we were talking about they seem like they were in their late 40s or 50s, and so they're from the 50s and the 40s. So
They
maybe
didn't seem that old.
they're not young people. They're
But
not
I mean,
like 20-somethings in the 60s.
It's 1968, though. I mean, I feel like in 1940, early 1950, they might have, slept in different beds. But I thought it was so weird. I was like, okay, this is planned because obviously they hate each other.
Yeah, I think maybe that's what that is more. But we get a whole shot of her. She's undressing. They don't film her. They don't show anything with her. But they're basically getting ready for bed. And all she keeps talking about is how sometimes she looks at her cousin and she just thinks about her slowly being ripped apart, piece by piece, just because she's so beautiful.
And then being put back together.
And then she just gets put back together like a doll. She won't stop talking about cutting her up.
How beautiful the cousin Gabrielle is. And then she just has these visions of like, she thinks she's so beautiful that she just wants to take her apart. That is freaking weird, okay?
Yeah.
It's just weird.
And he's like staring off into the camera. They lay down in their beds back to back. They don't want to look at each other. They don't say goodnight. And he's just like, yeah, that is some weird thoughts. I wonder why people think this way and feel it. I'm interested in that.
I was noticing Gabrielle today. We were down at the pool together.
Gabrielle, what does she have to do with anything?
Her body seems to be made of separate parts, beautifully united, but still each one perfected to be separated and put together again.
You make her sound like a toy you can pull to pieces and reassemble just for the fun of it. You might kill her in the process.
It wouldn't be to destroy her, but to remake her. A different way every time.
That's pretty abstract.
There's nothing abstract about Gabrielle when you see her nude. She's put together so nicely, her body and her pretty little face. Her body's so neatly formed that every movement she makes is graceful and cool.
It's her youth.
I'd love to take her apart at certain moments when she's laughing. Or when she's been drinking. Or when she pretends she's serious and doesn't smile. I wish she would always stay like that. Never change.
She's so young, she's not aware of herself yet.
Other people will soon make her aware of what she is. I had a strange dream the other night. Gabrielle was stretched out in her bed, motionless, as if she were dead.
How absurd.
Okay, good night. But like the thing is that they never touch each other. They never kiss each other. They're complete strangers. That's what they act.
They act so strange with each other. And in the middle of the night, he's woken up by a sound of a car starting. And we see outside that it's the guy who saw him murder somebody in the opening, getting into a car and driving off.
Yeah. So he gets up and he goes to Gabrielle's room and he's calling out for her, and he pushes the door open and she's not in the bed. So he goes around looking for her, and he goes outside, but for some reason, doesn't he go to the chicken coop?
So he goes to the chicken warehouse.
Yeah.
In the dark, and stumbles around in the dark and knocks over scientific lab materials. And this is one of my favorite things I've ever seen someone do. He knocks over, literal liquids
coming out of like test tubes and
Yeah,
stuff.
so this is like test tube liquids, and he tries to clean it up with his bare hand.
So he tries to scoop the whatever it was. It looked like egg yolk.
It does.
So I think that's what he was scooping up. He scooped it up with his hands.
He tried to scoop it up with one hand. He didn't push it into his other open palm.
No.
He tries to wipe it up with one side of his hand, and then hilariously takes the other side of his hand, the back side, and wipes it more. This is how this guy cleans up a spill. I'm like, okay, this is a movie that if you told me this was aliens making a film thinking they're trying to pretend to be human, I would believe it.
Oh my
like
God,
an
that is
android.
so true. That is so true. But like the funny thing about this scene is that he breaks so much shit and things fall over and test tubes fall on the floor and break. And he's concerned about cleaning up egg yolk with his one hand. And then you see him next in the bed clean. Like he's just, back in his bed after that.
Well, yeah. Well, he actually picks up what I laughed because I think it was the test tube spiral.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I thought he was gonna suck it up. I was like, "What is this? A silly straw he just got?"
Yeah, it
but
was
he
like-
just sticks the tubes back in. Everything's fine now. Just stick
Everything's
it all
fine.
back in.
And he acts like the scientist guy who runs that lab is not going to notice any of this.
Yeah. So
It was ridiculous.
He gets back in bed, and I guess the next day we find out. Well, he wakes up, and his wife is out of bed, and then he walks down the hall, and he sees that blonde's room is also exactly the same way in the middle of the night. It looks like it wasn't slept in.
Yeah.
So he goes outside to the pool, and he's always wearing a full gray suit, tie, black sunglasses. That's that's his costume in this movie. And he walks outside, and they're both outside. And she's typing, and the other one's dictating names.
Yeah, so like she's creating like a party list, and the husband's like, okay, what are we having a party for? And she's like, oh, it's just gonna be like 20, 26, 27 people, nothing major, whatever. So she's reading off names, and for whatever reason, and we still don't know, he goes over to the cousin, the cute blonde cousin, and whispers something to her, and he starts typing on the typewriter.
He types her a message, but we couldn't see it because it was in Italian. We couldn't tell what it was.
Right. It would be nice if the freaky movie would tell us what it said. Not
Yeah.
that it really matters at the end of the day, but that's the moment where I was like, okay, he typed her a message on that
Yeah, they have
letter.
some kind of relationship.
Some shit's going on. They're banging. Whatever's happening.
Yeah.
It has to be. Because he doesn't even say anything to his wife. He doesn't kiss her goodnight. He doesn't say goodnight. He doesn't even sleep in the same bed with her.
Yeah, he's also a murderer.
Oh, yeah. That little tidbit of information. He's a murderer.
Yeah, he murdered someone in the open in this film. So and he's also unlikable. And I would also say, I don't know who overdubbed him, but man, does it sound like John Saxon.
It does sound like him. John Saxon is a Bad Movie Night all-star.
Yeah, and he's also done some Giallo films.
And he's done some Giallo films, and he's also a horror person. Nightmare on Elm Street. You'll know that movie.
He's in Tenebrae.
He's in Tenebrae. So he is actually, one of our guys.
Yeah,
we like him.
It sounds like he's overdubbing him, and this guy kind of looks like a cross between. Oh my god, I just blacked out on his name. Oh, from Inglourious Bastards. Christoph Waltz.
Oh, he does
He's
look like him a
Christoph
little
Waltz
bit.
and John Saxon.
Like an angrier version of Christoph Waltz.
I guess so. He just looks very plain. He's so generic looking, this guy. He's so weird looking. And everything, the camera's always hanging on his face. Close-ups on their faces. Terrible close-ups. Well, it turns out you said that the party, it actually has more to do with that because I think it has more to do with the Eggland Association of America or Italy. I don't know what's going on here, but that's a giant thing, and this is supposed to be industry people. This is supposed to be industry people in the poultry business.
Yes, but okay. I need help. Because
There's a whole plot line here.
this whole party it's just so strange to me.
That happens later, though. Do you want to get into it now? Or?
I mean, no, go ahead.
Because I want to talk more about the poultry industry that happens first.
Oh, so when he goes to the offices.
The egg exchange, the Wall Street egg exchange that's happening.
It is like a Wall Street.
I don't know what in the fuck is happening.
Like egg stock.
There's actually a giant egg statue in the middle of the room, and people are screaming at each other, buying and selling.
I'm late. How's the market?
Nothing out of the ordinary. There was a slight drop, but it's holding steady now.
Yes, so they're part of this business obviously because they have this egg farm. So they're all in competing, like they're all in like competition with other farms. And I guess their farm is doing pretty well because
But she fired everybody and they cut their costs.
yeah, it seems like she actually has money the way she dresses, the wife.
She's got money.
So they, they're well off.
Oh yeah, that's like referenced in this.
But
Yeah.
why would she leave him in charge of going to these meetings? It makes no sense.
So they called him, and he has to walk through the egg exchange. And there's buy, and this one guy's just like, I'm buying all, I'm buying everything.
I'm buying everything.
And we pass by, every picture on the wall is of a chicken.
It's like that
There's
one
chicken
scene.
art everywhere.
It's like in Ferris Bueller when Cameron's doing the stock. They're watching the stock guys doing the
Yes.
trading, and then he's doing those hand movements. That's what I feel like this scene is.
Without a doubt, it is batshit crazy. I mean,
is.
the fact that everybody in this movie, every room is decorated with chicken art, and then there's chicken statues and people screaming about poultry. Amazing.
It's
And
like
this is like a comedy. This whole
It is. It really is. Especially like when they zone in on the chicken's face on the wall.
They do
it's
this
like he's
weird zooms
judging
at
you.
Yes. And he crosses this room and goes into an office, and apparently he has a meeting, and this is a room full of people talking about the poultry industry and saying that we need to get poultry in every room in every household. Poultry needs to be more important.
The difficulty we face is that no one knows poultry. People must learn the truth about our product, and it's up to us to see that they do learn. Poultry must become a staple in every diet. We've got to utilize our publicity as if we were dealing in politics. We must use it like any other industry.
I mean, there's
I
no.
wish I could remember all the dialogue here because it was great.
There's no way that they can. I mean, how ridiculous can you get? I mean, just with the dialogue in these scenes, like it's just so goofy.
Well, even better is they want him in full charge of the poultry industry because they're doing great, but also he is an artist. Because I don't know if anybody heard the first episode of our Giallo month in July, but I made a checklist of things that I think happen in every one of these movies. And one of those, and cross off a bunch of those in this movie, but artist. Mm-hmm. So he's an artist. And of course, because artists are all serial killers. That's just how it is, right? And
I think you
They
might
tell-
be right though in these movies.
in these movies every single time, or they're gonna be the person they want to murder.
That is true.
So yeah, they're saying to him, "Look, we love your photography, we love the chicken art, and I want more stuff from you." And they're like, "Look," he's like, "I'm not a star or anything. I'm not a person who could do that. You know, that's the farm. That's not me." And they're like, "You take great photos. We love your art. We love the direction you take. And you also wrote a book." And he's like, "That book is shit. You know, like it doesn't mean anything." And they're like, "That's not what we think."
So now, speaking for myself and the association, I'm entrusting this task to you.
I approve. It's a marvelous idea.
But that's impossible. I know nothing about publicity. Get somebody who's a specialist in it.
The important thing is to get a man of good taste, and you certainly have that.
You're the man who could best promote our interests. As far as the technical side goes, nobody's more expert than you are. You're a photographer. You've written a book.
Oh, the book was nothing. Juvenile ideas. Unimportant.
All we're asking you to do is approve slogans and drawings.
Everyone's got to give of himself if the organization is going to go on. All of us have to think of the organization. I know you're just the man we need.
I'm not, but I'll try.
And we should take it a little more seriously. We're you in full charge. And we also want to put you on board with a new talent we have. And the guy buzzes this buzzer to call this talent in. He's like, he's a, what's that called? I'm blanking on the words here. When you have people do all the,
Oh, he's like does the
advertising.
advertising,
Yeah,
like the marketing and
yeah,
stuff.
he's a marketing genius. And
Yeah.
let me buzz him in. And he buzzes in. And beep, beep. He does it so many times. He holds it down. Beep, 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 beep. And it's like Morse code being sent out. And this guy comes in the room. And it's the guy who saw him kill somebody in the beginning.
Yes.
And we get full-on close-ups as these two meet into their eyes.
But I was like, okay, what are the chances that this guy is now working at this guy's company who he saw in the beginning murder someone?
Well, I think at this point you have to realize, oh, this guy was at the hotel stalking him to find dirt.
Yeah, but so what are the chances that he would end up working for the
No,
same?
you're missing my point. He already was going to work there, and what I'm saying is he was finding dirt on this guy.
Oh, I see. He was already like
He was already
recruited.
working. He was already working for the Egg Association of at Italy, and so
Egg Association of Italy.
and
Is that what
apparently,
it's called?
I don't know what they call the egg exchange that they're working in. Whatever's happening there,
The egg stock market is what it is
it's
for real.
insane. And he was already working there, so you're already kind of assuming, oh, that's why he was acting so calm and cool. He was looking for dirt. I can't imagine that he knew it would be murder.
Yeah, but he doesn't even react to the murder.
Exactly. Like,
It's so
this guy's
weird.
like, you know what? I got some good dirt. Someone died though.
Yeah, but
oh well.
he doesn't tell anyone.
So maybe he's setting something up. We don't really know, but this is where you start questioning. Wait a minute. Okay, there's a lot more going on with this character. But their meeting is great. The camera zooms up on their faces, and they're just... The one guy's speaking to him. He's like, I'm the one that came to your house the other day. I don't know if your wife told you I was looking for you. He's like, I was hoping to go through some of this stuff with you before I got sprung on you in this office. And he's like, nice. All right. And he's just watching him. He's like, okay.
The main character has, I mean, the guy
He's
playing
so
Marco,
cold.
he's so just deadpan.
Yes.
Like, there's nothing, that he doesn't even react to anything. I mean, up until this point, he hasn't reacted at all to anything, or there's no acting. There's no.
To me, his acting is suspicious. Constantly. That's his one face.
I think that's
Like,
just his
suspicion?
face. Like, his face is just, it just looks like that, this actor. I don't think he was really acting. It was just weird. It was everything just gave me this vibe like, okay, this guy's just here.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm the man who was looking for you yesterday at your home. It was just my bad luck that I missed you.
Sorry I was out. My wife spoke about you.
I'm looking forward to this opportunity of working with you.
I'm not sure I could be of any use to you. Still, it should be interesting.
Yes, indeed.
Fine, now that the introductions are finished, let's get down to business, gentlemen, right away. Mondaini, I'm putting my faith in you. Don't let me down. Stay on the job.
Well, they meet, and then the scene just cuts.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, thanks for that. So there's not going to be any like blackmail. There's not going to be, he's not going to say, hey man, I saw you kill a woman. And, if you don't give me such and such amount of money, or, he doesn't even try to do that.
Yeah, the whole movie is very basically us questioning, okay, this murderer, what's his deal? And then we're questioning who's this other guy setting him up? Like, what's his plan? So that's the whole film. Like, what is this? What are these two guys' goals? Right? That's because there's no mystery.
No.
In the sense of who's the killer or
Oh, no.
what's going to happen. There is none of that. There's just, what are these two guys' motivations?
Yeah, what's going to happen with these two guys? Like, I'm waiting for the blackmail. Because that's, what you expect.
To point out, I think we skipped over this, but kind of an interesting little plot point that might not really make any sense. But in the morning, before he left to this meeting, to the egg exchange, he walked into the chicken factory, and he went into the room where he knocked everything over to check it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he finds some pieces of the broken glass, and he cleans it up, and then he also finds what looks like a shirt or a piece of fabric that has strange hieroglyphics on it.
Yeah, it's very strange. I personally wouldn't, it was a scarf, but I personally wouldn't wear a scarf that looked like that.
I
It was
also
weird.
couldn't tell it was a scarf when I first see it. It looks very thick. It looks like a rag.
It does look like a rag. It actually did look like a t-shirt.
So he kind of like hides it. And that's when we were introduced to the scientist. And he's like, he notices that he's in the room. And he's like, why are you in here? This obviously is his room. He's the scientist. And he's acting very strange.
Yeah, right off the bat, I would have been like, dude, did you do something in here? Because this shit's broken.
Yeah, and basically I think he says something to cover his tracks. And the scientist is like, okay. But the scientist is very wary of him.
Yeah, oh, he's suspicious
Yeah,
from
very
second one.
suspicious.
Yeah.
I think there was something wrong with the machinery, that it needed to be switched. That something's going on with the machinery where it clicks in at a certain time, because he's like, I think the machinery is not running. It should have already been running. I'm going to have to go reset the whole thing. And he's like, I think it's smart what your wife did about getting rid of everybody else, because now we could just focus on what we need to focus, and we can find. I'm close to finding out how to perfect the chickens.
Yeah, so what they're doing is they have this big vat. It's like a huge feeding vat that they put like the chicken feed in, and it goes on a conveyor belt and feeds all the chickens.
Yeah.
So that machine is, he had to go in and do something
He had
to
to fix
reset
it, but
that
it
machine.
started up right before that. And he goes, "Oh, it started. It must be on some kind of timer." Right? So the husband leaves, and we see there's a scene of the wife comes in and talks to the scientist, and he says, "I'm a little concerned. I found him in the laboratory, and I'm a little worried because I noticed some stuff was touched, and I think somebody was in here and messed up some stuff. And I'm not calling anybody out. I don't know if it was him, but what I have to point out is that the radioactive material that I was working on was touched, and it could mutate the chickens if someone human hands unwillingly touched it."
No, it's just that I have the impression that someone has gotten in here and searched through my experiments, and I wanted to know if you knew anything.
No, I don't. Nobody I know of has gotten into the laboratory.
These flasks contain a culture treated with radioactive particles, and even a minute mistake would be more than enough to ruin the next brood completely.
Why, I just can't imagine who'd be prowling around in here.
So when he said that, I was like, oh my God, are we going to get like
I thought we were going to get Blood Freak.
radioactive, like
A giant
things
chicken
killing, man. Like things killing. It was going to walk around and like start killing. The chicken was like going to come to life, like, hardcore murderer.
I didn't know what was going to... when they said that, I was like, what a strange plot point I had not expected already.
I mean, okay, here, the name of the movie is kind of like, yeah. I mean, plucked, but, death laid an egg. It made me think that, oh my God, this is going to make a huge turn. This is going to turn into a radioactive chicken that's like mutated and crazed, and he's going to start killing everybody. I was
That's
like,
why I brought
holy
up Blood
shit.
Freak. That's the only movie I can think of that actually has a mutated chicken monster.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
I think he's a turkey in that movie.
I was like so excited. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing.
No.
No.
Yeah. So apparently that can change the chicken's DNA, and that what he's working on, it could have been bad. And and of course the wife asks the husband, and the husband's like, no, I didn't touch anything. She's like, okay, I'm not accusing you. I'm just worried. I'm just worried because, it's some radioactive materials and it could mess everything up for us. No, I didn't do shit. Well, he goes out to a luncheon by himself, and this framed shot is terrible. They put his face right behind a bush, so it's only like half of it, and it's right on the left-hand side of the screen, so it's not even centered.
Well, we said this goes on through the whole movie with the foreground item.
Just terrible. And what turns out is he's meeting with the blonde, the cousin.
Yeah, which we knew something was happening there.
And it turns out she's wearing the hieroglyphic scarf on her head.
And he takes it off. He
grabs it off.
Grabs it.
Yeah.
Forcibly grabs the scarf. He goes, where did you get this?
Yeah.
And he starts freaking out. She's like, oh, Anna gave it to me. Anna, his wife. And the weird thing about this is that you made mention that he did pick up that scarf.
He has it in his pocket. He's actually looking at it before she drives up.
Okay, so how did she get it back?
Exactly. She
and
has
how
multiples?
how many copies of this scarf does she have?
And what's even better here, because we have to point this out, is she looks around at the people at this place and she's like, how quaint, how weird of a place. Look at these people. And she goes, I'll have an ice cream though. Right? So she gets an ice cream, and we have to watch shots of women eating ice cream staring at this camera. And then she starts eating her ice cream in the most bizarre way. She picks up a sundae and just starts eating it out of the glass.
Okay, what's very odd about this directing is that he keeps panning in on women we don't even know or care about eating the ice cream. But then he shows a shot of the blonde girl, one of our main characters, picking up a glass cup with a huge thing of whipped cream and a huge sundae, and she's just licking it like an ice cream cone.
Yes,
and
no spoon.
It was so bizarre. It was just a bizarre choice of why would you just give her a fucking spoon?
And remember, this is all accompanied. It's all followed up with the terrible score of the child playing an instrument.
Oh my God,
or
the
at least
music.
learning how to play an instrument.
The freaking music in this movie is so jarring.
Yeah.
I've never heard such an odd choice of music. It's just bizarre.
Yeah.
So these two idiots are having lunch, which here's the big reveal. We know, right?
He was looking for her in the middle of the night because they're having an affair.
Yeah.
And he's looking for her, and he doesn't know where she went, and she's like, "Oh, I sleepwalked, and I actually couldn't find my medicine, so I was having terrible
headaches
during the night. I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't find my medicine." But he knows that she wasn't in the house, and we also saw that car wake him up in the middle of the night, so we know
so
that something was happening with that guy that's working with him now, that's watching him.
He's onto it somehow.
But he's like questioning everything. He doesn't really know, but he's sure something's up. But these two are having an affair, and apparently he's madly in love with her because the two of them get in a car and they drive to the. They drive out to the.
It looks like a meadow.
Like they drive in the middle of nowhere, the woods or whatever. But the car ride is what we need to talk about. This car ride.
What is happening in this movie?
So
it gets worse from here on in.
The car ride is terribly filmed, and it is some of the worst editing. Again, they basically are driving, and she's like, I don't want to leave because I like living with you guys, right? And he's like, yeah, we don't want you to leave, but I want you to be with me forever. And she's like, well, what about her? And I don't think I can leave her. And, ever since my family died. And then he's like, I don't want to hear about this. And then she's like, yeah, I love my mother. She was the only thing I ever had in my life that filled my heart or whatever. And when they died, and he's like, I don't want to hear this. And then we just keep shot of them driving to the road where they're driving, basically the middle line of the road.
Of the median in the road, we get a shot of the lines for the median.
Back and forth
at full speed from them in the car to the median. And then
she starts talking more and more about the death of her parents.
Yes, and we have to see it.
And she describes it, and he's like, he's like looking out the window. He's like, oh my God, stop talking about this shit. And she's like talking about it like happy. But she's like, when they died, he was driving down the road and he hit the median, and then we're seeing shots of a man dead on the street, a car crash. We keep zooming out, and now when I say this, jump cuts, I mean instant seconds. Road driving, shot of dead body,
I was freaking dizzy.
Shot of messed up car, then of a woman walking out bleeding out of a fire in a car, and she's just walking toward the camera, shot, and it just keeps going. And she's like, yeah, and when they died, that was it, and we just keep shoot, shot.
I mean, we can't even explain this and do it justice. This is something you have to look up a clip on YouTube or something, because this scene literally made me dizzy. It made me freaking dizzy. I was like, wait, why are we getting this? I feel like I'm in a Kaleidoscope or something.
Yeah, and
it was weird.
What's funny is they also are playing the terrible music, but then they just stop, and then we just keep getting a shot of the road and this woman walking dead, like dying, over and over with no music or anything following it.
Was so weird. Like, I don't understand why this director chose that route. Like, it was just because
it's so
most
jarring.
most of the film so far up to this point has been slow shots, slow things happening, and then all of a sudden we just get this bewildering directing choice. I'm just like,
like intense.
It was intense. It went from boring and drab directing to this like fierce, like flash all over the screen type thing.
Yeah.
I was very confused. It was confusing.
And I will say it works because it looks disturbing, but it's also only making it worse because of how much it's jumping out of it.
Yeah.
And so it makes you a little nauseated
I was
on top of
nauseous.
being like, oh, that is a creepy shot. That's actually really well directed. And then it's like, oh, but the editing here sucks so bad
It really
that it's
does.
ruining the shot no matter what it's doing.
You've got to stop being afraid. You've got to look your fears in the face.
I do, but I can't believe anymore. I've tried it.
And so you're afraid.
Well, wouldn't you be? I've lost my family. My mother was my only happiness. We were just starting out on our vacation that day.
Stop it, Gabrielle.
The sun was glorious, the kind of sun you pray for. The whole family had just started out.
Gabrielle.
I didn't want to go.
And so, yeah, basically they end up in a meadow. And they're just talking about how he's like, how much he cares about it. He wants to live with her forever.
You know, when
She's the
you're having a
only one.
freaking affair, and
Yeah.
you know, in these movies, they always sit and they talk about how he's gonna leave his wife and they're gonna be together happily ever after, blah blah blah, and that just it's so stupid. It's like we already know that you're having an affair. We don't need to hear about all this crap because there's nothing that this guy can say that will make you like him in any way. And every time he opens his mouth, he's just digging a hole even deeper.
Yeah, but this is great too because this shot just keeps following them. For some reason, all of a sudden they're walking through the woods. Then all of a sudden they're running through a cornfield while they're talking to each other. And then she's playing. She's like, "What are we gonna do for money? You have no money." And he's like, "I can get a job. Who gives a shit? Who cares?" And he's like, "I could become a bandit." She's like, "Yeah, I would love a bandit's wife."
Yeah, because she wants the thrill. So she's just not going to be living in some freaking podunk piece of crap house, you know, in the middle of nowhere with him. She wants more. She's young. She's much younger than him. And she doesn't want to, you know, be broke. She's like, we both can't be broke.
Yeah.
So how is this going to work out?
They end up out of the cornfield into the meadow, and they lay down on the grass. And this is great because she asks him, "Well, why did you marry her?" She's like, "So you only married her for her money?" And he's like, "No, I know you won't believe it, but I loved her." Now, this is a guy who's like, "I love you, and I only want to be with you, but I also married somebody for love, and I only wanted to be with them, and I don't want to be anymore." So, and then she actually says a great line. She says, "Love is the only thing that I believe is constant, or forever." And I'm like, this guy just told you his love is not forever.
Yeah,
And
she's kind of a twit.
You're an idiot. Yeah, like ridiculous. And he says, "Oh, you married her because you loved her?" And he's like, "Yeah, there was a time." And then we just get shots of him and his wife having sex while jumping to them talking about it.
Yeah, so we're supposed to be in his mind. This is like his mind. He's giving us a flashback while he's talking
no
about
words.
it. With no words at all. Like
just them talking, but with no words.
Yeah, it was him talking, but but the flashback that we saw was him and his wife having sex.
And
It was
you were
okay.
like, "Oh, she's sleeping with someone else, so she's cheating on him." And I'm like, "No, that's him."
I thought that what they were, I mean, it would make more sense if while he was in the meadow talking to her about
She was
if
getting it
she
on.
was
Yeah.
getting it on with someone else. That would have,
Unfortunately not.
but that's not what happened here.
Yeah.
And you know, I felt bad for the wife at the end of the day, but whatever, you know, because she married this idiot. But
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, and then this idiot, the blonde, is with them for some strange reason too.
Yeah, makes no sense. Like, she's one of those people you could tell how young she is, young and dumb, because she actually thinks that he's going to leave his wife. And really?
Yeah, he keeps like, "Run away with me," and she goes, "No, nah,
No.
no, I'm not into
No.
it."
Yeah.
And they actually drive back into town, and he's like pissed off about it all. So he like jumps out of the car and walks off. Of course, when he goes and walks off, he sees a storefront window with all the scarves.
Yeah. Okay.
And
I
it's the
need
same
help
design.
with this scene. This scene, I don't understand. I need help with it. He sees, okay, the whole entire fucking storefront window is scarves, the same exact scarf.
And he's so fascinated. He's like asking everybody, "What is this design?" And everybody's like, "I don't know what the hell I don't know what it is."
No, no one even, and then he sees this woman
Who's the woman that he killed in the opening?
through the window. We're like, oh my God, he's having some kind of flashbacks.
Yeah, and he seems to run after her, but as he's running after her, and they just kept showing her walking, smiling, he gets stopped by the guy who's following him, the guy he's working with now. And he stops him. He's like, hey, I was hoping we could talk. In the middle of nowhere, these two happen to run into each other.
Yeah.
In the middle of like a busy intersection somewhere. And he says, I was hoping to go over these designs with you soon. And he's like, all right. He's like, will you come with me now? Can I show you the designs? And he's like, all right. And now this is where we go back to the poultry fact of the, whatever the hell we want to call it, the egg exchange. And he shows him his art. His chicken art.
It's all chicken art.
He says, well, you know what? I think the chickens should take over. I'm thinking we can get a chicken in every department. We got a army chicken. We got a chicken working in a chef chicken. We got
chickens for every single area of the office. We're like, okay, why do we need to see this? Obviously, this is the guy. Now, reminder, this is the guy who saw him murder somebody. Yeah. And he's acting like, oh, hey, Bob, let's have a water cooler discussion about this week's Perry Mason or whatever.
Apparently, he's supposed to work with him and sell the chicken stuff. I don't...
Okay, but why are you being so freaking nonchalant about it? You saw this guy murder someone.
I have more of a question for you. Isn't this just one chicken factory out of like tons?
Yes.
So why is he important?
Right. I guess he was assigned to do the marketing for this particular chicken farm.
Why? How many chicken... I mean, how could this office and all these people run off of one chicken? Like,
I don't know,
but this is the big chicken farm and there's nobody working at this chicken farm but a woman? What is happening? She fired her staff.
Yeah, I can't answer that, but apparently in this particular part of Italy there is one chicken farm. That's the big one, I guess. And so he's been recruited to do the marketing for that chicken farm.
Apparently.
And while this, like, he's showing the designs, like, I'm sorry, my first reaction, if I saw somebody murdering someone, I would go to the police.
Oh, this guy's taking it great.
And he doesn't even say anything to this man. Like, hey, guess what? I can go to the police any moment because I saw you kill someone. You know, like, but there's none of that. He just casually, nonchalantly talks to him about chickens. I'm like,
well, he's showing the art. The art is hilarious. It's like chickens in suits and chickens in army outfits.
It is, but it's pointless. Yeah. Pointless to this plot.
It's to the plot in the sense that he's supposed to be making the advertisement. And even the main killer guy, our main lead, is like, huh, do you think people will be into this? And he's like, yeah, chickens for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I'm just like, I can't.
This whole situation has just gotten to our lead character, so he needs to go murder again.
Yes, so what we find out now, and we didn't know later or earlier, was that he's finding these girls in the lounge, the cocktail lounge.
He's getting prostitutes from the cocktail.
Yeah, he's finding them in the cocktail lounge in the freaking hotel. Now, the hotel obviously knows that this is going on, that there's whores in their lounge just finding Johns, waiting for Johns to come along and be like,
women of the night, Joe.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, well, you know, working girls, whatever. But so yeah, he finds a girl in the lounge and brings.
Hooker's got a hook.
He brings her hookers.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then he brings her upstairs to his room, which it should be noted that he always chooses room 627. That's his room. So he's been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
And they made mention of it like over a month at one point.
He actually has that room forever. Like,
yeah,
he's
it's
been
reserved
that room
for
him.
him. Yes.
He just rents it out.
So they know that hookers are turning tricks in their rooms. They just don't care. And it seems like a big, like a nice establishment. It doesn't seem like a Motel 6.
And we don't even know. They probably work for the hotel. I mean, like, we don't even know because we don't know the laws.
Right.
The prostitution laws there. I don't really know. But they could just be like, yeah, this is how I get my money. I hang out at the hotel and I go hook.
Maybe the manager of the hotel's getting a little slice on the side.
Who knows?
Whatever.
I mean, this could be a...
It's just a plot point that we... Like, what is happening?
Well, he brings a woman up to his room. He hog ties her, gags her. She's in for the whole thing. He draws the designs of the scarf, or whatever the hell it is, on her head.
He draws over her.
The designs on her back.
Yeah, with lipstick.
And then he
really weird.
Slices her throat.
Yep.
And that's enough of that because we don't find anything else about this.
Nope,
We don't know if there's bodies piled up in the room. We don't know what's going on in this room.
I mean, honestly, I'm still at this point in the movie. I was like, okay, well, did they ever find the last girl that he murdered?
Yeah,
What the hell?
that's what I said. I don't know if there's stacked bodies somewhere. If he's
Yeah,
doing something
like-
crazy with the bodies. We don't know.
Like, what is happening? Like, there's no like cleaning lady or there's no
Yeah, true. I
what
didn't
the
think of
fuck?
that.
Like, nobody's coming into this room to clean up
It's got
or
a smell.
yeah. So okay, so whatever. So this is the second body,
So
and
yeah, I mean, yeah.
I can't. It's bewildering. It's bewildering.
Now we gotta talk about this. The wife is at the pool with her cousin, and the cousin's swimming, and they're talking about the party. And the blonde says the cousin, she's like in the pool swimming. She says, "I invited that guy that came over to the house looking for for the husband." Mm-hmm.
From Marco.
I think he'll be a hoot.
Oh yeah. So
And then she's like,
blonde's into
"Won't
him.
that be a hoot?" And she's like, "Yeah, I think that'll be a hoot." I don't think they say hoot, but they say
They don't
something
say
funny
who-
like that.
Yeah.
I think that will be good.
Yeah.
And she's just looking at her with that lust. I guess she's imagining her chopped up, putting her back together again. I don't know.
It's so weird. But
Well,
Anna's
so
like
is-
looking at her cousin weird like that.
Yeah.
It's so strange.
So is the director because she gets out of the pool and she walks crotch into camera and then turns an ass into camera.
I was like, hold on. I'm like, wait, we need something in the foreground.
Yeah.
So here, let's just
Yeah.
have her crotch walk towards us and her.
And when I say that, she's not naked, but she has a very low, like, swimsuit that's like very low, but also very tight, so you can see everything through it.
Yeah.
And it walks right into the camera.
I mean, it's it's just like the most ridiculous shot. Like, what is this director doing? Like, I'm trying to figure out like what are your motivations here? Why do we need a crotch shot? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And then like have her turn around and her whole butt cheek is just in the shot.
Yeah, it's just the most gratuitous, ridiculous thing ever.
But it's stupid.
It's so bad.
It's so stupid. I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst. This directing is the freaking worst.
It's weird. It's very weird.
Oh
And,
my God.
I guess that night is the party.
It's the party with all the people for the elite.
Yeah.
The elite chickens.
This is the whole chicken association is in this place, in this party. It's jamming. And for no reason, we're just thrusted into a scene where the guy who just started working with him, the guy who's watching him, the husband, he's telling everybody that he needs a room with... No, this room won't do. There's no doors. I need a room with doors.
What the fuck is he talking
And they're
about?
having a hard time finding a room with a door in it for some reason.
In a house.
In a house.
In a house.
And so the wife who owns it and at the party, she says, "How about this room?" And he's like, "It's perfect, but we can't have any objects. It needs to be bare. We can't have anything that can trap memory."
Okay. I need help with
And
this
so
scene as
the
well.
entire party guests all are laughing and having a great time. Remove every object from this room.
And we at
into
this
the
point,
hallway.
us as the viewer, we're like, okay, what is going on?
What is
here?
happening here? Yeah.
Are they gonna
then-
have some kind of orgy?
Yeah, apparently this is a game. He keeps saying it's a game, and it's like people go in there, and there's no time limit. It just has to be truth.
Okay, so I'm picturing this like when you're like you're like that person in your 6th grade or whatever, and you do 7 minutes in heaven, you know?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I
Like
guess.
throw 2 people in a room and see what happens. I mean, it's not a closet. It's just a room. And then all the furniture and all of the artwork and everything's been taken out. So the whole room is just white.
Yeah, and I wanted to point this out. Wasn't it a brown colored room a second ago?
I thought it was also. I thought they had like that wood paneling
yeah,
in there.
and then it kind of looks like an insane asylum room.
It does. It looks like it's just all white. It looks like a rubber room. It's really weird. And so then we see that 2 people at random get chosen to go inside.
Yeah, I don't know if they're couples. I don't really understand what's happening in this scene.
I need help with this.
Yeah,
I'm
and-
having trouble.
The one couple goes in there, and a couple minutes later, they come out smiling and laughing and holding each other. And they said, "What happened in there?" Is like, "It was fantastic."
Yeah. Okay.
What?
Okay. So
Okay.
what? And then they do this really weird cut to this woman and guy in there. and he's just like jostling her around.
There's like a lot of those cuts, but
Yeah.
there's one that comes out where the woman's crying.
And then there's a woman crying, and like all these couples, they show all these couples in there, but we don't know what the hell the
We don't
reasoning
really
is.
know what the reasoning here is.
What is the point of this? I don't understand.
Well, we have to point out that the husband is watching the guy that he's working with now talking to the blonde. And
Right.
they're whispering to each other. And he also notices that for some reason, this guy, he's wearing that bracelet that you buy, the charm bracelet that you buy your girlfriends to, for like holidays.
Yeah, it was really weird. It looked like a Pandora bracelet.
A Pandora bracelet.
But it was weird because it looked like a woman's bracelet. It didn't look like it would be on a guy. It had charms hanging off of it. It just, for that time period, it didn't look like a guy's bracelet at all.
I didn't understand that.
And they
That's
made a
wild
point
to me.
to show us that he was looking at that bracelet. And so obviously that comes back. But
Yeah, but the husband, he's making it known that he's watching them and he's mad.
yeah, because that's his girl and he doesn't want her talking to another
But
man.
his wife, we also see a shot of him looking, them whispering, and the wife looking at the husband. And
Yeah.
she's standing right next to him. He
She
doesn't give
knows-
a shit. He
no.
doesn't stop looking.
She knows that, he's looking over in jealousy. And she knows it. I mean, she's not a dummy.
Yeah, but it's our cousin that she's like so obsessed with having there. Like you would think that she would say, "Hey, that's my fucking husband." You know what I mean?
But she doesn't say
She
any
doesn't
of
say
that.
shit.
And she obviously knows that some shit's going down with them. And she doesn't say anything. It's just so bizarre.
It's weird. But yeah, he's whispering and she says something like, "I can't do it." And he says, "You can do it. We can do this. I know it. You have to just keep going."
Right. Okay. So I'm like, all right. So they're plotting.
Yeah.
They're plotting. So this is going to be interesting because are they plotting against him or are they plotting against the wife?
I don't.
So I'm like, oh, what's okay. All right.
More strange is that the husband grabs the blonde and brings him into the padded room, the white room, to have the whatever happen in there.
Okay. Yeah. Can
In
you
front of
explain-
all the guests. Everybody knows them.
It's so weird because first of all, they're not technically a couple. He should be going in there with his wife.
His wife, who's the owner of the party, the person running the party.
Yeah. Then we see the two of them in this room, the blonde and the husband, and we're like, okay, what's the reasoning? Why are you in here? I mean, nothing transpires in there.
Well, he tells her that he loves her and he wants this to be now. He wants to run away. He wants to do this now.
Yeah, that's
And he's
it.
like kissing on her. And then oddly, someone turns off the electricity in the house and turns off the lights.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then we hear a scream and we think something has happened. No, the girl, the blonde, has just screamed. And
Yeah,
they open up the door and the husband's mad and he comes out of the room and he goes, "Who's the idiot? Who did this who did this idiotic thing? Sons of bitches, And they go, "You know what? It's late. The party's over."
Yeah, so they throw everybody out.
Sorry about that, guys.
But it's so weird because, like, the wife, I mean, she seems so disconnected from it all. It's just bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I would be like, what the hell? What are you doing with this broad? That's my freaking cousin. Are you guys banging? What's going on? I would be, like, all over it.
She almost seems like sexual with her own cousin. We are actually confused by that for a couple minutes.
There was a
We're like,
scene.
are they cousins?
Yeah, where I was just like, okay, she's looking at her like she wants to, like,
Yeah, and she
make
mentioned
out
that.
with
She's
her.
like, she's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It was weird. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that these characters aren't weird. They are all strange cats.
What's really funny is, like, because any host will tell you, when everybody leaves and the party's left and you're sitting there looking at the cleanup, it's the worst. And that's what happens here. The wife and the blonde, the cousin, sit down and the house is trashed. But for some reason, she notices an envelope on the table and it has her name on it, the wife. So she goes there and opens it up. We don't get to see what's inside. We don't get to be told what's going on. But she goes, "Oh my god, these sons of bitches." And they didn't even leave their name.
Yeah.
And she's
We
like,
don't
"I'm going
know
to get them."
what letter it is.
And
What
she
does
storms
it
off.
say? What
She
is
storms
it?
off. Something about her husband.
Yeah,
We
but,
don't know.
I mean, there's nothing that they don't tell us.
Yeah.
They don't tell us at all. She storms off. She crumbles it up. She storms off and goes in her room, and we don't even find out what was in that letter. So I'm like, okay, isn't this an important plot point?
Yeah, you would think we
the
would be told
freak?
what's in this. But I mean, I guess we can only guess because it's obvious what's going on. But
I mean, now it is, but before.
We know that the guy set it up and he turned off the lights for some strange reason, but the lights turned off just for the throw the envelope on the table?
Yeah.
I don't know. We know that the blonde and him are setting something up because we've seen them talking now. And the husband seems to know too, but not doing anything about it. He kept questioning her in the room too. He kept saying, "How do you know him? What are you guys talking about?" And she's like, "I just met him when he came over the house the other day. But I know you know more. I know something's going on. I love you. I don't want to move away with you."
Yeah, he acts like a jealous, like, little kid. He's
Yeah.
like, he's the worst. The husband is the worst. Now, mind you, we are 2 murders in at this point.
2 murders in.
And this guy who's seen him murder someone the first time still has not come forward to the police and said anything.
And let's face it, 2 murders and an attempted murder with the wrench in the thing.
Yes, attempted murder.
And
yeah.
speaking of that, we have to get to this now because this is an odd scene. Him and his wife are mad. Now, she's mad at him because whatever that envelope was is definitely some kind of information about him.
But we don't know what it is.
Yeah, and they're talking in the chicken factory where she does the running of the chicken thing.
Running of the chicken thing.
Whatever the hell it is, she turns on this device that's like a meat grinder.
That's the chicken feed. It's a chicken feed.
Yeah, but you have it smashes stuff up. It's like giant rollers that crush up stuff.
Yeah, it's making the chicken feed.
Okay. So I guess she dumps stuff into it?
Yeah,
we don't see that.
No.
We just are watching this thing churn.
Yeah, and then
her talking.
It conveyor belts the food out to the chicken so they can eat it.
Yeah, I get that part, but I'm just this device. What it is, it's a huge ass thing with some kind of railing. What I'm guessing is they dump some kind of feed that has to be grinded up.
Yeah.
I don't really know what's going on here, but she's talking and they start fighting, and she's telling him that the workers, they're outside again. And they book some windows. And he's like, eh. And she's like, the cops need to be brought in. They're supposed to protect us and stop this. And he goes, I don't think we have to call the cops. And she's like, okay, great. We're going to find more broken windows. But oddly, a dog walks up. And apparently now these characters have a dog.
Yeah, we never saw the dog. No, never saw a dog.
What I think happened here is this dog wandered onto set and they filmed it dying.
No.
Because this scene... I'm questioning what happened on the set here. I have no idea what's going on.
There's no trivia on IMDb.
Rare dog. There's no trivia. I can't find anything. But a rare black dog comes into the shot and doesn't really interact with them. They just keep showing it like it's in the scene.
Yeah.
And
it was bizarre.
He walks the husband after the wife already stormed out saying that the windows are broken. And you're going to find more broken windows from those guys. They're just standing out there. He walks off, and as he's walking... he turns and stops to look for the dog. And now suddenly, the dog is up on the beams above the grinder?
Yeah, so we know exactly what's going to happen here.
The dog's walking back and forth up there. You said, how the hell did the dog get up there?
Yeah, we don't even know how he got up there. There's no possible way. There's stairs going up to the grinder, but it doesn't go up to the freaking ventilation shaft.
Yeah, I don't even know how it's up there. And this, by the way, this factory is like in there's like a glass ceiling.
Yeah.
It's dirty, but there's light. You can see light through it.
Yeah, so how did this... I don't know.
So the dog's up there, and all of a sudden the dog slips off.
Yep.
The dog slips off and then
see
falls into a vent that shoots him into the grinder.
Yep. It's beyond.
And I was like...
I'm like, okay.
I don't know how they did this.
Why do we need this scene, though? Why do we need this scene?
Like I said... This is definitely implanted. Something happened on the set, and they just filmed it by
you're
accident.
just letting this dog get murdered from a...
The dog slipped off the damn thing. That happened. The dog slipped off the thing,
It looked like the dog really fell. It looked like that.
He fell.
I mean, that's...
And then you can see him sliding.
Yeah, and
the husband starts screaming, get down from there, get down. He runs toward it. Did he say his name was Blackie?
He did call him that. Yeah, I think...
Blackie, get off of there. And then all of a sudden, just right into the meat grinder.
Yeah.
We don't see it. This movie doesn't really like showing gore, which is, I guess, a plus because this scene in particular, and I was worried that we're going to be watching a lot of chickens being like destroyed.
Yeah,
and we don't get any of that, luckily. And this dog too, we just don't get what happens to his body.
It just
disappears.
Falls in there and is gone.
Which is a thing in this movie,
but you don't even see any blood. Like there'd be some remnants of something.
Nothing really,
but
and
nothing.
He just walks up to where he fell in. And just stares at it.
This is the oddest scene. Oh my god. It makes no freaking sense. They never even go back to this.
Yeah, they never talk about it at all. And that's it. that scene's over. I mean, he just moves on from
I
it.
need to listen to somebody else talk about this movie because I'm having trouble with a lot of scenes in this movie. I need some guidance. It's very bizarre.
I'm afraid to find out that like animals are really hurt. And
No,
stuff like that, you know?
no.
I don't doubt it. I really don't doubt it.
I mean, it was weird. It looked like the dog really fell, but I mean,
It does.
could have been like where they made the dog fall and someone caught him in a, one of those, what do you call it? The fire brigade has those jumper trampolines,
yeah, maybe. It just looks very, very suspicious.
It looks it looks weird.
I question what happened in the scene. But yeah, so yeah, that's that. And now we get a whole subplot where the wife wants to get revenge on the husband. And so she asks him. Oh no! The wife asks the cousin. She's like, I know he's going. This person wrote the letter and said that he's going. He's getting women and they're meeting up somewhere. I wonder where it is." And the blonde just goes, "It's at this hotel."
Yeah, and there's no follow-up questions.
She doesn't say, "How the fuck do you know
like,
that?"
how do you
and she goes,
know?
"I've seen them there. I've
Yeah?
seen them there. There's women of the night that work there. There's hookers that hook.
Yeah.
And they're in the lounge. And
Hookers
I
gonna
think-
hook.
I think he picks up hookers.
Yeah, so how does she know that?
Yeah, how does she know?
But
And
there's
the
no...
sister doesn't know the cousin.
The cousin doesn't even question it.
No,
She doesn't,
no.
There's no follow-up questions. Like, okay, so this is what our plan is going to be. We're going to get revenge on him. So we are going to dress you up like a woman of the night and put you in a red wig. Now, this wig and her earrings, okay? So she had these green earrings, and I know Wilma Flintstone wears white earrings, but she looked like Wilma Flintstone.
Well, this is where we see her in like lingerie or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is where we
She has a beautiful body.
Pretty. Like they're making her seem older in the face every time we see her, but this is the first time you see her body.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, we were like, damn,
Wow.
she's pretty. You know, like
yeah.
she's got a nice body. And she's like, they're talking about wearing lingerie, and the cousin goes, I can't wait to put you in it.
Yeah, so she was like really gung-ho about getting her dressed up so she could play this role of the woman of the night and bust out her husband who's been having an affair with these hookers. So this whole plan is enacted, and it's very strange the way it just cuts off. So like they dress her up, and the next scene...
Well, no, we forgot something. We forgot a couple important things here. They're just looking for clothes, but before that, they want to go test out what the hookers are like. So they go to the bar at the hotel.
Oh, yeah,
and she
that's
walks
right.
over to a hooker, and she goes, "Do you got a light for my cigarette?" And the hooker lights her cigarette, and she walks back over. I'm sorry, woman of the night. And she walks over, and she sits back down. She goes to the cousin, "I've never seen a look like that my whole life. It's like her look is just one of torture. She wants to hurt someone and hurt herself.
That's
It's
right.
void of emotion.
I forgot about that whole
It's
scene.
incredible." And then the blonde goes, I think you'd look good in hooker clothes."
Yes.
Hello. Do you have a light for my cigarette?
What's the matter?
Just an impression, that's all. I've never seen such an expression as that one over there has in her eyes. It's real weird.
I see what you mean. She's been around.
No, that's not it. It was indefinable, almost a capacity for cruelty, suffering and causing suffering, to degrade herself and someone else.
Lingerie is important too. Your bra and panties are almost as important as what's under them.
Oh my
That's
god.
how she
it's
responds to this
so
woman saying this
weird.
crazy shit to her. She's like, "Oh, I think you'd look good in that."
It is so the cousin, I mean, she's so adorable. She's adorable to look at, but she's a dummy. She is so dumb. And I'm just like, "Oh my god, the dialogue in this is so ridiculous."
Yeah.
So
So that's why they get an idea of what hooker clothes look like and how they can dress her up as a hooker. And so they get into that. And there's a whole scene of them trying on hooker clothes to see how she'll look. But we have another strange plot point that comes back from before, where the husband is out and he gets a phone call after, I think this happens after he kills, I don't know if he killed the third hooker or if this is the second hooker kill. I don't remember if there was a third, but either way, he gets a phone call in his hotel room that he stays at. And she says, by the way, I don't know how she has this number.
Yeah, I don't know.
She says, you have to get back here. Something amazing has happened at the factory. You have to come back soon. What is it? What is it? And the phone hangs up, but he keeps clicking the hang up button to see if she's still on the line. But he does like 50 times.
That's just like
It's like a weird movie thing.
It's a weird movie trope.
Yeah.
They do that all the time.
So he runs home to see what's going on, and he runs into the factory, and she's there, and she's like, it's a miracle. And this is where we find out that it looks like mogwai eggs have been hatched, but on the table are these weird, veiny, bubbly looking things. And we only see little tiny shots of them. They hardly show it. And they're moving. And she says, weird. It's amazing. And he's like, what is this? And she's like, the chickens. They were mutated and they were born. We found a whole bunch of these like this. And the scientist comes in now and he's like, did you tell any? Oh, before the scientist comes in, the husband says, did you tell anybody else? And then she's like, the scientist. And he's like, you shouldn't have done that. They should be destroyed.
I mean, and first of all,
the scientist, yeah. Well, the scientist comes in now and is super excited. These are chickens born without heads and wings.
Okay, and he picked it up.
It's basically a circle with legs.
And it has feet, and it was like moving. It was so creepy.
Okay, so there's two things that could have been happening here. It's either that they really cut off chickens' heads because the body will still move.
Oh my god.
Or you can also, and this is odd, push a chicken's head in.
Okay, don't say stuff like that.
You've seen this too. David Blaine does it. Pretends like he takes chicken heads off, but he's actually pushing them in. Yeah, it's weird.
Okay, I don't.
It's a weird thing, but it's featherless and it's wingless.
It was so
and
creepy.
If you were watching, it's definitely a chicken body because the feet were moving.
Yeah, I was cringed out. I couldn't take it.
I was like staring at it.
Oh my god.
It's all veiny.
Oh, so gross.
The scientist is like, we've done it. It's a miracle. This is exactly what we wanted to do, right? Apparently what they want is more meat on the chicken, less bones, so it's easier to get the chicken meat out. So basically, these are hormone-injected chickens that are growing more meat. And so he's like, this is perfect. This is exactly what we want. We're going to save so much money because the bones are smaller and they're easy to get rid of. And there's more meat and it's going to be juicier meat.
This is another like subplot. Like, why do we even need this? There's no reasoning. There's no reasoning for this.
This is an odd moment. And I don't exactly know the metaphor we're going for here in this movie, but the husband basically fires the scientist, and the scientist is like, the Chicken Association of Italy is going to hear about this, and you're going to get your job. And he's like, get out of here. Yeah. And then he leaves, the scientist. And the wife's like, don't you dare do it. And I'm not gonna be happy if you destroy these chickens.
Oh my God.
But then she just leaves the room. And then he goes behind that counter and grabs a crowbar in a science lab.
Oh my god, okay, yeah, there's a crowbar in there.
And then suddenly the window smashes and the wife just watches him as he destroys the chickens with a crowbar.
Which is the goriest scene in the movie.
It's basically, it does look like some real organs.
It does. It's gory and
it's fast though.
Cringy,
it's
but
shot in a way where it's hardly seen.
I
but
feel
it's happening.
like they're really doing that. I do.
He just destroys these chicken monstrosities, and he says they're monsters.
I mean, this movie is so freaking weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's like one moment it's about an affair and a murder, and then the next minute there's mutated chickens. It's so freaking weird, and like a dog is falling off the thing and dying, and
workers' rights.
I just can't. Yes, Jesus Christ, I am baffled by this.
A cousin's family dying on a road trip.
Yes, and we had to see all of it for what reasoning?
It's odd.
They were among the chicks that were born Friday. The others are normal, only these
are monsters.
They're wingless and headless. Yet they're breathing as though they were living things.
Have you spoken to anyone?
I called Paolo. He'll be here any moment.
That was a mistake.
There's
So-
so much, and we still have this asshole who saw a murder and didn't report it. So this is just, I
mean, now we got mutated chicken metaphors, and of course, this leads him to get called to the Chicken Association of Italy, and they fire him. Basically, they say, and he says, there are monstrosities that need to be taken down, and I would have done it regardless. And they're like, this is everything we wanted. We wanted those monstrosities because we can make more chicken.
Yeah.
So, and when he walks in, he's like, I think we've spoken enough. And he leaves. And as he leaves, we get a nice, big, giant, wall-sized chicken black and white photo. And we kind of aim in it, kind of zoom in upon it. And we see the clock. And then we get a whole scene of him. I'm so mad at myself for not remembering this scene. He calls a guy up and says, I need 2 tickets to Amsterdam.
Oh, okay.
And he goes to a guy
Yes.
who has a bookshelf of chickens and books. Their heads are sticking out of the chicken books.
It's so weird.
An entire library case like that. And then everything is chicken, but great is he has baskets of eggs everywhere in this office, and this guy's really out of control acting. And he's like, 2 tickets? Oh, you need 2 tickets? Well, it's word torn. And he's like, it's for my wife. And he's like, okay, well, just remember to check in. It's word torn area. Just check in before you leave.
I have plenty of tickets because there are so few going. What with the war they're preparing. But I'm so glad that your wife can go. Here you are. Make sure that your reservation is confirmed tomorrow by the airlines.
Thank you.
Not at all.
I mean, the fact that he went to this guy and said, okay, so we need, I need a ticket to send my wife to a war-torn area, and this guy doesn't think anything of it. It's like, oh, okay, here's your ticket.
Yeah, have fun.
I mean, obviously he's doing this because he wants to get rid of her.
Yeah, you definitely know now that he's plotting something because he wants to be with the blonde.
Right, they want to run away together and all this crap. So he needs to get away from the wife, and he's buying this ticket to make it look as though she left Italy and went someplace else, so that he can get away with whatever he's going to do.
Yeah, and he starts like having this scene where he starts thinking heavily about the time. So he's like, 5 o'clock, the machine goes on. 5 o'clock, the machine goes on. Right? And this, okay, everything is filmed here in just, again, jump shots. We see the guy that was stalking him, the guy, coworker, in the hotel, coming out of the elevator with scratches on his face, like 2 gashes on his face. We see a woman's feet walking on the platform near the grinder. We see him run in and switch the switch at 5 o'clock. Then we get a shot of a scream, and we see that the blonde, who's wearing a giant man's button-down shirt, I don't understand that, and she just screams into the camera. Like she sees something.
What?
And the husband is acting like crazy against the wall while he's switching the switch. And we get the shot of the grinder, and then we see an entire scene of the husband going to the hotel and parking his car, sneaking into the hotel, and going into his room. And when he goes into his room, he washes his face and then turns around, and he finds a dead body on the floor.
Yeah.
And now we know that the dead body is his wife in the wig.
Yep. And he notices it too, because he goes over to her, and she is literally, I mean, left there, throat slashed. And this is crazy because we know that he's a murderer, but he didn't do this.
Yeah, but we know that he just tried to kill somebody with the meat grinder, and we heard the girl scream like she saw something, but we didn't see it, and we saw white shoes walking there.
Right.
And now we're thinking, this is where we're like, what's happening? Like, what's going on? And we're thinking, okay, he tried to kill the wife in the meat grinder, and now his wife's dead on the floor. And we saw the guy, well, I can put it together that he left the room with the scratches on his face because he killed her and he got scratched on the face while fighting her, whatever. But we're like, who died in the meat grinder? What the hell is happening
I
here?
think that he turned it on because he was anticipating his wife going there and doing the chicken feed at 5 p.m., but she didn't do it. So...
Well, we saw feet walking there, so it's very confusing, and why the other girl screamed, right? And so now basically he starts cleaning up the body. He gets a blanket, he starts cleaning it up. Then we get the cops all show up. Now, this is the funniest part. The cops are all detectives, but there's like 10 of them.
Yes.
10 well-dressed detective cops show up in the hotel lobby. And guess what? Right at the hotel desk where the cops all go to is all the hookers that he's killed through the movie.
Oh my goodness.
And they say to him, well, they're like, you called? And he's like, I didn't call the cops. The hotel manager, I didn't call the cops. And he's like, we were told that there was a murder in this room number. Mm-hmm. And the hookers all laugh, and the women of the night. The women of the night say, that's funny. We've all been killed in that room. Yeah, the guy who does it is a gentleman. He's a really nice guy. He has a weird fetish, but we've all died like, I don't know, how many times, Cindy? And the other one's like, like 5, died 5 times in that room.
Yeah, so
he's a sweetheart, though.
Yeah, so he hired these women not to, like, I guess he just gets his kicks by pretending to murder people, which is deranged. But that's his fetish.
His fetish.
And so he's pretending to murder them. So this whole time we're looking at him killing these women, and he's not doing it at all. And that's why I was wondering the whole time, like, oh my God, where the freak are the bodies? Where are the bodies? Like, are they going to drag out?
We're like, it's making a little sense.
Yeah, why aren't they on the news? What's going on? Well, there's no bodies because there was no murder.
Yeah.
Because he actually was faking it the whole time.
So they're like, well, we still want to check out that room. Well, we cut to the chicken factory and the blonde there, and then the other guy shows up. And I guess they're together. And it turns out that they were planning to set up the husband.
And make it look like he killed the wife.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, I killed the wife. She's dead. They're going to get caught. I called the cops there. I wasn't expecting him to show up at the hotel, though. But don't worry, he's going to go to jail because I called there, and now it's going to prove all the other people he's murdered.
Yep.
And
so they were in cahoots this whole time because the blonde girl was like thinking, well, if my cousin gets killed and her husband's in jail, well, then I inherit the chicken farm and I'm going to be rich.
Yeah.
So her motivations in this movie were completely the opposite of what we thought. We thought she was having an affair with the husband, but she was really playing the husband.
She just wants the cousin's money in the factory and everything like that. But what's funny is she says, but I saw him here. He flipped on the switch. And I screamed because I was startled. So that was like a terrible red herring for us.
It was.
I was startled because he flipped on the switch. I think he was going to kill his wife because I think he filed down the railing and she was supposed to fall over into the railing, into the meat thing. And the guy's like, damn. He would have done it for us if we just would have waited a minute.
Right.
But, it doesn't matter. I called the cops there, and he's like, he really thought this out because he got the 2 tickets to the thing, and he was going to pretend that she was there, and he should have been out of town, but he's secretly moving around. He's like, he really thought this out. Well, it doesn't matter. I sent the cops there. They're going to catch him, and whatever. What they don't know is that he has snuck out of the hotel with the body and somehow cleaned a pile of blood off a carpet. Mm-hmm. Perfectly cleaned the carpet. It's gone. Because when the cops get in the room, they do not see the blood on the floor.
Yep.
And nothing is wrong in the room when the cops get in that room. He is now driven to the chicken factory, and his plan is to dump the body into the meat grinder like he was going to anyways. But before he can push the the body in, and he has started it up too. So the noise has alerted the other two in the house. But before he can push the body in, he notices in her closed hand, with the rigor mortis, like it's closed really hard, is that guy's bracelet. The Pandora bracelet that his girlfriend bought him, I guess, on the Valentine's Day.
Yep.
In her hand. And he grabs it out and has a moment of crisis. And this is a really odd scene. He just stares at it, twirls around, screams, and falls into the meat grinder.
Yep.
And the other two come out of the house. They come in there and they go, holy shit, her body's here. But where's he? I don't know. But we got to push the body. We got to help me dispose of the body. And just then the cops all come in and see them. And they get them and they go, they say, it wasn't us. He did it. He put the body here, but we don't know where he is. And they're like, we're taking you in for questioning. Where is he? Everybody search the chicken place. You know, check everywhere. And they're looking, and they're looking, and they're looking, and they don't see anything. And then finally a guy walks up to one of the chicken cages, grabs an egg, cracks it open, and drinks the insides. And that's the end of the film.
That was the most repugnant thing. I'm like, okay, first of all, this movie doesn't need half the shit that they put in there. Especially that scene. I was like, why do we need this? And Finn. Okay.
It ends like that. It just ends. And it starts playing that terrible music. Over credits of chickens with red font of the names on it.
I'm going to go ahead and say that I think that this movie held my attention a lot. Simply because
I couldn't look away.
It was so bonkers. And it almost put me in a seizure because of the freaking back and forth, sped up shots of the median and the road and the just weird shit that they put in there. The directing choices were out of control. Yeah. I have never seen such crazy directing. Like, what is this? What is he thinking? This director.
I don't know if he actually wrote this, but I will say this: he wrote one of the worst movies I have ever watched, called Devilfish. This guy wrote that movie too.
Oh my god!
He didn't direct it because I think Bava's son or somebody directed that movie, Devilfish. It is horrendous, that film.
Okay, well, he was the director is Giulio Questi, and he is listed as a writer as well.
That's insane. And it does prove a lot about Devilfish being as bad as it was.
Oh my god, I cannot. This movie, first of all...
This is a trash fire.
I've never... When I picked this movie, I was like, okay, this has a weird name. This is everything that we're going to want to talk about.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You know, like this is, there's no way that a movie with this movie title would be anything less than what it was.
Yeah.
This movie was a trash heap, and the directing was all over the place. It was bonkers. And the plot would have been cool if they executed it differently. You know, like you can't just end a movie like that. You can't just end it, you know?
Yeah. That guy just disappeared into the grinder.
Yeah, that was it.
He's gone. He disappeared. No blood, no nothing.
Nothing. It's like the same with the dog. It's like, okay, so you choose to put some blood in some scenes and some blood in other scenes, but the one scene that you really needed in, it's not there.
Yeah.
It's so weird. And, you know, a lot of it makes sense coming back now to me when he was killing the first girl, or, you know, just air quotes, killing the first girl, was because there was no blood on the knife the whole time. So I was like, wait, that's weird. I was going to point that out, but I'm like, no, let me just see where this goes. But the plot was kind of cool. It just wasn't really executed right. You know, like I like the whole double cross, you know, and then it comes right back at you type thing. I like that. I like that. Alfred Hitchcock does that a lot. Mm-hmm. And I really like that. But this movie could have been interesting if it wasn't so goddamn bonkers and all over the place with the directing and the crazy, like, no reasoning for the party. Number one, we didn't need the party. You know, the scene where they're in the room and they're, what is that?
Even the hookers fake out death because it doesn't really tie in.
No.
Because they were going to, even if the cops found the wife dead, it wouldn't have mattered about hookers being killed. I'm sorry, Women of the Night. And if they were found dead, they weren't found dead. And it wouldn't have mattered. Nothing would have tied back with that anyways. It's not like they were setting up a history of crazy, violent past with him. It wouldn't have mattered. He just killed his wife would have been enough.
Right. And
like,
it
doesn't matter if he was a killer beforehand.
Yeah. I mean,
like, he could have always set him up.
Right.
He didn't need any of that.
They didn't need any of that. There was so much in this movie where, like, all right, why do we need this scene? Why do we need the driving scene where we see her parents are killed?
Yep.
It was just bonkers. I
Yeah.
mean, they tried to throw a whole bunch of crap behind a decent plot, and we didn't need the crap. We could have just had...
Wow, decent plot.
I mean, I like the whole double cross thing. I like that, you know? Like, it was a big... Like, wow, he wasn't really killing them. They're standing right there. You know, that's kind of neat.
I mean, I guess that reveal was kind of interesting.
It was neat. It was a neat reveal. You don't see that all the time.
So it didn't matter.
Right.
It couldn't justify itself.
But it also makes us believe that, okay, he's not really a killer. So it would have made sense if he, you know, us as the viewer were thinking, oh, he really killed his wife. You know, it's maybe he went mental and didn't realize that he did it. But no, he wasn't really a killer. He
I
just,
guess you're right.
You know, it was a cool plot twist. I liked it.
Yeah.
And if they did it the right way, it would have been an interesting movie. But there was the music, the score in this movie was trash.
Oh,
it was
terrible.
It was ridiculous. The directing was awful. The acting was all right, but you know, it wasn't bad acting. It wasn't bad acting.
I mean, I guess it's passable. I'll say that.
It's passable acting. That's the only thing that this movie really has going for it. They didn't have any
chickens. That's what this movie had going for it. It made me laugh my ass off.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of skeeve in this where we think that shit's really happening, like the
Some
dog
things,
and
definitely.
it was just weird. It was very odd movie. I'm giving it a 3. I'm giving it a 3 because there's reasons, you know, like I like like I said, the plot turn. That was a good reveal.
Yeah.
I like that, you know, like I said, it wasn't poorly acted. But if I give it a 2, I mean, I guess I should give it a 2. Because the only thing it has going for it really is the fact that I like the twist and it wasn't poorly acted. So I guess I'm going to change mine. I'm going to give it a 2.
In the sense of fun, you know, having fun during a bad film, this one is up there. Because it's so great. This is exactly what I'm always looking for.
That's true.
But it is very bad.
It's not so bad. It's good.
It's close. It's close. If there was more funny scenes, because anything that was funny about it or great about it was ruined by how bad some of it was done. It's odd. This is an odd one for me. I did not. Let me tell you, I'll just say this. This is the 3rd of the month. And this is the 3rd one in a row. And I think I've given all these extremely low scores.
Yeah.
And this one is the lowest yet. This is a 2. But it's still like people. I mean, some people. I'm glad we're doing it. So if anybody ever hears this, like, this is exactly why you might want to stay away from Giallo, or this might make you want to go watch it more and see more like amazing things about it that we don't see. But this is definitely something that it's unreal. Like, it makes you want to watch it because it's so crazy.
That's why I picked different directors, because we're going to go in, you know, we're doing different ones each time. So we have to see at least one of these has to give us something.
Yeah.
I mean, they're definitely different directing styles for sure.
I think, by the way, we wanted really badly at the end of this film, because we didn't talk about it during the entire rundown of the plot, because is a strange thing with eyes. In the opening, we forgot to mention that one of the weird jump cuts was him putting drops in his eyes, and then him talking about the color of his eyes throughout the film. And we kept thinking, is a chicken going to eat his eyes out at the end of this film? And how great that would have
like,
been.
okay, we need like a
the
mutated
chickens
chicken.
kill him, because there's a mutant chicken thing in this movie, and there is eye talk and him wearing sunglasses, and something's going to happen. There's some reason this stuff's being set up. Like, they say that Chekhov's gun thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you set up something in the first half, it should come back in the end. Like, that's the only reason to establish it.
Yeah.
And this movie's establishing things that don't mean shit. And it really feels like it needed to mean shit. And I'm sure there's someone out there that's going to say, oh, you missed the metaphor of what they're talking about and all this stuff.
Okay.
And whatever that is, it did not connect to me mentally or in any sense, at any plane. So I can't give it that credit. You know, I wish I could. I wish I was smart enough to know what the hell you're talking about, but I can't see it.
I don't think there's a hidden metaphor in there. I'm sorry. I don't.
feel like there might be something we're missing, but I don't see it. Like right now, I just shocked. I was laughing at how bad it was so much about this one.
I mean, it gave us a lot to look at each other and be like, you know, what the fuck?
Yeah.
The whole time
What
we're
the
like,
fuck?
it gave us a lot of that. Like there was just so much of it. But like at the end of the day, the movie, us laughing about it is not enough to save it as
close.
a movie.
It made me enjoy my night with watching it with you.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we always have a good time when we're
Yeah.
watching trash because we're like, is this happening?
Well, let me say this: you have one more
Yes.
to blow me away, finding me a classic. Well, I don't think it's gonna happen, but I just like putting it on you as pressure. But yeah, you have one more of the month, I think, and yeah, that's that. That's us talking about the egg movie, the plucked
Death Laid an Egg.
Death Laid an Egg. What a great title that is.
I mean, of course, you know why I picked it because I'm like, all right, this has to be
Death Laid
some
an
crazy shit.
Yeah.
And it was. It was crazy.
It sounds like a Zucker Brothers version of a horror movie. Death Laid an Egg.
I would like to see their version of
I
this.
would love to. Yeah, but as always, guys, you know, thanks for listening. And also, you can always hit us up on social media. You can find Joe at The Crafty Misfit, and I am at Just Another Movie Night on Instagram. And we're always on there. If you want to comment about why you love Giallo and why you love this film, please do. And as always, just if you have any bad movies that you think we should do on this show, or bad movies that you think are the worst movies ever made, just tell us. We'd love to hear about it.
Yes, we love recommendations.
Always tell us these things. And yeah, again, thanks for listening and have a good one. And thanks for celebrating 50 episodes with this shit. Have a good one.
Come in. You've got to excuse me. You see what happened. You hate the sight of blood, too? I'm afraid one of them attacked me. They're so aggressive. They're terribly mean to me. They won't let me investigate at all, and I'm supposed to be cataloging them for the files.
They're good company, but sometimes they get nervous, and then they get cruel. But the administration has to have its information nevertheless.
How absurd.